In this chapter, we are going to review the Item Maintenance tab, which you will find on the left-hand side after you log into Vendor Portal. Once you're on the Item Maintenance side, this is used primarily for new item entry. So if you have a new item that needs to be submitted to Coburn's for approval or review by the category manager, this will be the tab that you use to submit that information. Even though it's titled Item Maintenance, this isn't necessarily where you would input cost information. Cost change information will be done within the vendor cost entry form. This Item Maintenance tab is simply for new item entry. Now, if you're inputting a new item, what you want to do is go ahead and review all the boxes across the top. As you look at each of the boxes here, you will notice that there are some that are in orange and some that are in black. All the ones notated in orange are required fields. The required fields need to be entered before you are able to process the record or accept the record. You will also notice here at the top there is a filter by button. As of right now, there are no additional records showing because we have no additional new items in there. But every time you go into a different tab, whether it be item maintenance, cost entry, item deals, you'll want to get in the habit of always clicking apply because apply will refresh the screen. So once you click in here, go ahead and click apply, and if there are any current pending records out there, it will show them at this point in time. Once you're entering a new item, simply work your screen here left to right. So for example, if time to enter a new UPC, go ahead and punch in that UPC code of the new item that you're wishing to input. And you can either hit tab to go to the next field, or you can click over using your mouse. Vendor item is the V item field. That would be any vendor item number that you use on your side. So if you're using any vendor item numbers for ordering instances or anything like that, or anything you guys use to maintain your item records within your database as an identifier other than the UPC, this is where you would enter that information. If you do not use vendor item codes, simply just re-enter the UPC again. As you'll note, it is an orange field, so it is a required field. So again, use the vendor item number if you maintain those. If you don't, go ahead and use the UPC. The next field is the description field. This description field will be the description that shows up on the shelf tag itself. It is used to up to 35 characters in length. But one important note is that our POS receipts only manage to maintain 17 characters in length. So while it's easy to get lengthy on your description, it's advised to try and keep it as abbreviated as possible, but yet make sure those abbreviations are something that is recognizable by both an employee of yours, an employee of Coburn's, or even the consumer when they look at their receipt. So for example, this item here is the That Smart brand, so we may just abbreviate that as TS. We'll call this item That Smart Beef Jerky. Beef jerky has plenty of characters to fit within that 17 character parameter. So go ahead and we just abbreviate it TS for That Smart Beef Jerky as a description. Otherwise, the recommended way to abbreviate these things would be to just simply eliminate the use of vowels if at all possible. So another option perhaps would be TS, BF, JRKY, standing for beef jerky, family size, or FAM, SZ, or FMLY, SC. Just something that we can meet that character parameter, what's going to show up on the receipt, and the customers understand what it means. The size field. There is a difference between the size field and the SUOM. The SUOM is size unit of measure, and size is actually the numerical indicator. So the best way to think about that is if it's a 16-ounce bag, you would put 16 in the size field, and the UOM field would be OZ. The SUOM field, or size unit of measure field, is limited to certain character entries. And as you can see here, the magnifying glass pops up when you click into that field. That means there are values behind the screens that can be chosen from. So to understand which values you can choose from, simply click on the magnifying glass, and it will provide you with a list of acceptable entries. So as you can see here, there are 39 records, 2 different pages, and right now it's sorted alphabetically. So it could be 16 bags, boxes, centigrams, case, counts, dry quarts, dozen each, fluid ounces, gallons, so on and so forth. I don't see the ounces abbreviation on here, but I do see the fact that there are two different pages. So I'm going to click on the right arrow to go to the second page. As I'm scrolling through, I can see pounds, liters, and then I come across ounces, OZ. And since this is the one I want as a unit of measure descriptor, I'm going to simply click to the left of that and click twice. And it automatically pops the OZ into this field. The next field is CU of M, which is case unit of measure. This should always default to CS as being the value, and really CS is the value we want. So even though you can click in the field and it'll provide other options, the CU of M really should always be case, regardless of what the item is within itself. The size and size unit of measure are what's going to populate within the system within the tag. The case unit of measure is a required field, but it's more or less behind the scenes for receiving purposes only. So we always indicate that as a case indicator. And again, it should always default to that. So you shouldn't ever need to or have the need to change that. The next orange field is pack. This is how many units are within a case. So some vendors, chips, pizza, identify that as 1 unit per case, which is fine. That can be a pack of 1. But the more standard or more widely used option would be the 6 units per case, 12 units per case, 9 units per case. It all depends on how you manage case pack on your side as a vendor. If you're unclear which value you should enter, whether it be 1 or the full case pack of 12, reach out to your category manager and they can best advise you as to which value to use. In this case, we're going to say it's a case pack of 12, so we're going to enter 12 into the case pack field. The next orange field is the cost field. This would be your regular cost or EDLP cost, depending on your vendor structure or which cost structure you use. So in this case, we are going to use a case cost of $84, so we input 84 and move on to the next field. Related UPC. Now you can see it's black, it's not orange, therefore it's not required. But the related UPC field is used in the instance where a conversion is occurring. And let's say, this beef jerky here used to be a 19-ounce package and now it's going to a 16-ounce package. What we would do is we would input the 19-ounce package or the old UPC into this related UPC field. Therefore, it will tie the two together so we know that the 16-ounce is a replacement for the 19-ounce UPC. So again, not a required field, but in the case of conversions or replacements, you would input the old UPC here. Just a side note that if you're taking out a cherry flavored something and bringing in a blueberry flavored something, you would not want to use the related UPC field here because it's not the same item. The related UPC field should really only be used if it's the same item and just a simple conversion, whether it be a case pack conversion or an actual size conversion that generates a new UPC. Pre-price amounts, those are used by most commonly chip companies, but if your product has a pre-priced UPC or an actual price on the product itself, please input that pre-price amount here. If your product does not have a pre-price amount on the package, you can leave this field blank. The next field is deposit amounts. Deposit amount would be in the instance where most commonly used, it's beer vendors or it's pop companies where they bring in the plastic shells. And as they deliver the plastic shells, they charge a $2 per shell deposit fee. This isn't very widely used anymore, but there are several vendors out there that do charge a plastic shell or something along those lines in terms of a deposit fee. So if that is applicable to you, go ahead and input that deposit amount in this column here. The next field is the mix match code field, or as we are identifying it, like item mix match codes. At Coborn's, we use this mixed match field it's a numerical field that helps notate common size or common price items. So if you think of the world of Doritos, for example, there's 10 different flavors of Doritos, but they're all the same cost, they'll always have the same deal, they always have the same retail. So to group those together to make it simple for us to find and to make it easier for you as a vendor to find, you should input that mix match code here if you know it. If you do not, please reach out to your category manager. Otherwise, we will show you how to research that mix match code as we get into the cost change template chapter. So as we go through the cost change template chapter, we will touch a little bit more on mix match codes and how to manage those, what those mean, and how to access those. Stage status is simply the record status of the item that you are currently inputting. As you can see, it's an open status, which means that you are in the process of submitting it. The other stage statuses are approved, which means the category manager has reviewed the record and approved the record. Rejected, which means the category manager has looked at the item that has been submitted and decided not to accept that price because there is an error. And there is also rescinded, which means as a vendor, if you send it in and go, whoops, I didn't mean to send that in, you can actually rescind that record back before the category manager has a chance to approve that. And we'll show you how to do that in one of these upcoming chapters. And then a reason code would show if the category manager has rejected the record, there would be a reason code listed there, or a reason listed, deal's not deep enough, item does not fit into planograms, whatever the reason is, that will be indicated there, but typically that's only going to show after the category manager has rejected a record and applied a reason code to it. So as you can see here, my new item has all the applicable attributes entered. It has everything in orange. It has the UPC. It has the vendor item number. It has a description. It has a size. I've identified my size unit of measure. Case unit of measure is CS. I've filled in my case pack, my case cost, and for the instance here, there is no related UPC, pre-price amount, deposit, mix match code, etc. So once I have everything listed here and I'm ready to accept the record or input the record, simply click on this plus button here, and you will see that the record is now highlighted in yellow. The stage status is open. That means the category manager can now look at this record and decide whether or not they want to accept it or reject it.